unplug you guys for a second. Alright, so I'm going to show you the equipment side of things first. So basically this is what I use. Oh, for goodness sakes. This thing's picky. This is my general setup, and then back there I've got one of my Altos, as you may remember from last year, and my GRX 118P. These are both powered speakers, so a lot easier to use. Now, obviously, not everybody has speakers like these. I'm just fortunate enough to have the, and I use this lightly, but the room to have them. And of course I use them for a mobile DJ gig, so why not use them when I DJ SL? But there are actually, you can just use headphones if you want. It's a little bit more difficult to do it that way in certain circumstances. However, I would recommend at least using some kind of computer speakers of some kind. And I actually can show you a set of speakers that I actually used to use for small house parties and everything that are really inexpensive and sound great, but I'll show you all that in a second. But anyway, so of course I use my SB2. This is the basic routing that I use for it. So basically I've got, coming out of the SB2, you know, a pair of RCAs. You can use, you know, depending on your controller, you can use RCA, quarter inch, or XLR. XLR always being the best if you can manage it. And this is also just how I set mine up. I'm going to show you different ways that you can set yours up based on what equipment you might have available to you. Anyways, I got RCAs coming out from the SB2, and then it's basically coming over here. There's the other end of it, going into this channel. The reason I skipped this channel is because I need to clean the right side. It's really damp, if you will. But these are the inserts right here, and I'll also show you my weird gain structure I use on this board as far as my whole setup altogether, but there is a reason for it. Basically coming in here, and then I've also got this line right here, which is actually coming out of this guy. It's a USB sound card, and originally, until I just replaced my motherboard yesterday, I didn't have a working sound card on my computer, so I bought two of these. I absolutely love these. These are about, I want to say $11 or $12 on Amazon. They work great. They are, I mean, they sound crystal clear. You know, depending on your USB ports and whatever USB equipment you use, such as USB hubs, you might get a little bit of background noise. But and I do too. But there is actually a way to get around that, and I'll show you that as well. But basically, these have stereo ins and outs. You have a stereo microphone input and a stereo, what they call headphone output, but obviously you can also use it as line level. But the reason I have this is because if, let's say for instance, if I am streaming at if I'm going to be DJing at a club, and I'm, you know, let's say number 3 in the line of 6, well, there's going to be a DJ that's already performing right before I get on. So most DJs can't do this. They can't listen and stream right at the same time, whereas I can due to the setup. So I can actually listen to the stream on Second Life, and even though the DJ says, okay, I'm done, you can take it, oftentimes that stream has about somewhere between a 15 and 18 second delay by the time you hear it from Second Life. So I wait till the stream actually ends, and then I will switch over to my stream URL, my server, and then we'll start DJing. So that way, you know, their grand finale of their song or whatever they're using is not interrupted. And let me look. As soon as I can. Okay, well, whatever. See, it'd be nice if I could pull up your comments on the computer so I can look at them. Okay, well, anyways, while I'm looking for that URL edgewise, I'll Yeah, it's not going to show me your comments. That's awesome. Okay, well, what I will do is, yes, that is it. Okay. That is it right there. Let's see. Looks like it's a, I don't know if you can see that or not. SDAL. It's like a, let's see, SDALD 20066. And actually, these guys also make a lot of. They also make 5.1 and 7.1 little USB adapters similar to this that also work excellent. So if you're wanting, you know, a little USB sound card for your laptop to plug into a surround sound system of some kind, that's also the place to go. But they're very reliable. I bought one years and years ago when I was in high school, like the first gen of these things by the same brand on Amazon, and loved it. Unfortunately, my dog ate it, and then I got this new laptop, and being broke as I was after my dog destroyed my motherboard, my sound card on the motherboard, I went and onto eBay and got one for like $2 from China. It was a piece of crap. As soon as I opened the box that it came in and held it in my hand, the plastic case just fell off the board. So like all I had was just the bare circuit board, and not only that, it just sounded like crap. So I broke down, got two of these, and because I try to have one for like every laptop I have. It's good as a backup. It's good as an auxiliary input or output for whatever kind of, you know, whatever you might be doing, especially for me doing AV work. But anyway, so where was I? Yeah, so we've got output into here, and then that way too. So and it's also important, and I'll show you this too, actually. So there's multiple reasons I'll do this, and if you can't actually have multiple of these, all this is again two TS 1/4 inch going into, you know, your usual headphone jack style 3.5mm TRS. I like doing that again so I can listen to the previous stream, the previous DJ, know when he ends, and then also it gives me an opportunity to, if anything ever happens with Serato or whatever program I'm using, or my controller, or anything in between, I can have an immediate backup. I can plug in another laptop, or in this case, I can just open iTunes and start playing from iTunes, you know, depending on whatever music I have, or Virtual DJ, because Virtual DJ, you know, you can just select the sound card and start using Virtual DJ without your controller until you get your Serato or you know, your primary DJ program back working again. And my version of Serato right now is very finicky, so that is a very real possibility. So it makes it as a good backup. Or if you, or worst comes to worst, let's say your computer overheats or whatever, you're still streaming. Technically, your server's still live, so you can just plug in your phone and start playing music on your phone, you know, just to have something going until you're able to get your computer or program back up and working. So that's why I have this guy. And then this guy right here, as you will see, are my, it's two auxiliary sends. One's a monitor send, one's technically an effects send, but I just use them as two auxiliary sends, left and right. That goes back in to the other side of this thing, which is the stereo microphone input. And basically what that does is it allows me to have even more control. So let me show you real quick. Okay, let me get rid of this guy because it's annoying me. Oh dear. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. So basically what it allows me to do is, let's say for instance, so, you know, I'm going to play a song. You can hear it on my headphones, but let me turn that down. Alright, so you don't hear anything, but you can see that it's getting input. So basically what I've done is I've mixed out my different inputs, and obviously this one I keep turned off because primarily I use this to listen to the prior DJ, and I don't want to accidentally restream and start echoing, so I keep that off. And that also means that if once the DJ is done, I can immediately start streaming mine and start playing my music. If I forget to turn off the main fader, it's not a big deal, because then it's not streaming to the computer. This because the auxiliary sends are turned off. So I've got my SB2 on auxiliary sends pretty much even on left and right, and then over here I've also got a microphone. I like to do live miking for you know, to be more interactive with the SL crowd, if you will, and so I've got it mixed out just a little bit under my SB2, just simply because the microphone gain is a little bit higher than the SB2, or the input at least. But this way I can also, so if I don't want to hear myself through my speakers, I can just turn me off, or if I just want a little bit, it gives me my own mix differently than what's going through the computer. It just gives me a lot more control and a lot more room for error and boo-boos on my part. And then of course you got your main left and right going to the alto and then into the sub. So that's basically the setup. Does anybody have any questions so far as cabling and routing and everything else? Oh yeah, my gain structure. So the reason I have my gain structure set so awkwardly, normally for digital inputs I will use, and when I mean digital inputs, I mean like you know, a computer, or you know, something that's got a consistent line level, as opposed to a microphone, which has a lot of variable on your volume input. But normally I'd have it about there on this board, and then, you know, my microphone level just really depends on the microphone. You know, usually it's about 9 o'clock, sometimes up to 12 o'clock, anywhere in between depending on the microphone. But the reason I have it gained down so much is because my input is so high. I keep this at 0 at all times, or maxed out, and that's because my speakers are so overly powerful when they're sitting right in front of me. So normally what I'll do, and also gives me more control, my own control over the microphone versus the SB2, so I'll turn my main input up to 0, and then I keep my SB2 up to 0, and then my microphone, you know, I can make anywhere I want to, so I can hear myself over the music a little bit better, or not as much, or not at all. But it just gives me more control without blowing me out completely. And then as far as, and one of the most difficult things is when you're using auxiliary sends, you can't really, it's hard to hear, you know, I mean, there's ways that you can set up your speakers or whatever to hear what's on the auxiliary send, but in my case I cannot hear what's actually going through these and directly to the computer. All I have is the meter on my EdCast, which I'll get to in a second. And so basically the way I work this through is, you know, I will listen. So I've got, and again, I've got my auxiliary sends, my main sends on 0 or at 12 o'clock. So basically what I do is I will put my mains at my master at 0, and then I will put my music at 0 or wherever, and then usually I will put, you know, put my microphone up, do a little sound check, figure out, you know, make sure I can still hear myself above the music, but not, you know, distorting anything. And then what I'll do is I'll look at the faders. So let's say if I've got, in my case, again, because the microphone input is so high over the SB2, I usually will roll about a -3 from 0, -3 dB from 0. So I just kind of map my auxiliary sends that way. So I know on the meters, on the EdCast, I know where I want to be for my main input for my SB2 for my main music. And then, yeah, sorry, I was reading Blue's comment. Yeah, so this is where I know I want it on the meters, where it's just below clipping pretty much at the highest point at any time, so it doesn't distort on everybody else's end. And then, so that to me, this position on the sends is basically 0 dB on my SB2, and then I know my microphone at about -3, so as you can tell, I've got them, you know, about 3 dB less than my SB2. This is about +6, and then these are about +3. And again, this is just my setup. There are many different ways that you can do it, and this is just a more complex way. If you want this type of control, I strongly suggest getting something similar to this. However, there's actually some better mixers that you can use. Now, I just happen to have my sound cards that had the stereo inputs, so I decided to use it that way. However, if you take, now this is just an extreme example. Obviously, there's a reason I'm not using this because it's freaking huge. But it actually has, let me see if I can grab it real quick. Oh man, it's a lot heavier than I remember. Sorry, bear with me. And they also have a fan on because it gets really hot in here. But anyway, so if you look at this guy, you can see that it's got a USB port on it. And one of the things I actually like about this particular one is that it's got its own gain structure right next to it. It's got its own gain pot. But that's also for, that's more for output though. So if you're actually recording a set or whatever's going into the board, you have a direct USB output, stereo output, that you can go into Audacity or whatever your recording program is. Let's do it that way. But as far as input goes, you can actually, let me see if I remember where it is. Oh yeah, okay, so you got actually your own gain right here. This pretty much acts as your fader, but you can actually, you got your tape with your RCA inputs here, but you can also, let's see, so right here you got a button, tape USB. So basically the USB and the tape inputs are kind of on one input. So yes, you can run them both at the same time, but you won't have independent control of them on the board itself, at least. But so basically you send that to your mix, and then you've got your own volume control right here, and then you still have independent controls of what you want to do with it. So you can actually, again, for the USB port on the back, you can actually use this as your input from it. Again, from iTunes, whatever, if you have it set as your default sound card on your computer, or you can again send whatever audio that comes into this board back out through that USB output, and you can actually set that sound card as your streaming device. So anyways, I'll show you a better version of that that's more condensed like this. One I used to use when I very first started DJing and streaming in Second Life was an Alesis. I actually really liked it. It was really clean and really inexpensive. Behringer actually makes some really decent ones. They're getting really good with their analog mixers, depending on what you get, I have to say. But they do have some that have multiple effects in them that you might use for, your vocals or something, if you're doing something other than just playing music through it. But they also have a lot of them have USB functions just like that Peavey did. But I'll show you. I might as well just show you now, I guess. Let's see. So let me see here. And I'm sorry I cannot screen capture. It's one of the limitations of Facebook live streaming, unfortunately. Alright, so let's see. Let's see what goes up this way. Okay. Mackie. Let's talk about Mackie for a second. Their mixers are actually kind of decent. They have some really good pre-gains and preamps in them that are actually really clean. And their mixers are about the only good thing that they make right now. So you can, I would actually suggest a Mackie in certain cases, but please don't get anything else from them. I used to sell them for a very short period of time because I would get them in. I would get these powered speakers in, these Mackie thumpers or thumps or whatever they're called, and I would open them. I get them straight out of the box, broken or not working. You know, there's some defect on them. I've gotten 3 of them that way, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sell something that's, you know, defective like this. Okay, so these are all Behringers right here. This would probably be your better bet as far as versatility goes. It's 150, so not relatively much, but another alternative would actually just be to get one of these guys. And really, I would probably suggest this guy right here, the 502. It's $60, and you can, of course, get these at Guitar Center. They have a lot of selection at Guitar Center on mixers like this. But you basically have got one XLR input for your microphone, and then you've also got your USB functions, just like the PV. You can send it, use it as a recording device to stream. And then so you can go out from your controller into you know, one of these channels right here. You've got 2 right there, so you can actually do just like I was describing with this guy. So you got one for your microphone here, your vocal mic. Oh, I just had to change on me. One for your vocal mic, and then you've got 2 stereo channels. You know, you got left and right, so you can have your SB2 or whatever your controller is. Just make sure that you have the right conversion. So if you have something with RCA, make sure you go to 1/4 inch. Or XLR, go to 1/4 inch, so on and so forth. And then you also got, so you got 2 sets of these, so you can have one for your controller, and then one backup, like I said, 1/8 inch to do a 1/4 inch for your phone or iTunes, whatever, however you want to set it up. And then you have 1/4 inch TRS left and right out, like mine does as well. So yeah, that's probably one I would suggest right there. Again, it's $60. Alto actually makes some that are really decent. I really like Alto products. Of course, I use their speakers, and their mixers are actually pretty decent. They're actually pretty clean. Pile, stay away from unless you want a whole bunch of background noise. Here's an example of the Alesis. This is pretty much a step up from Behringer. And this is a Alesis 4. The one I actually had when I first started DJing on Second Life was a Alesis 6 USB. Oh my goodness, let's go. There we go. Oh, there we go, I can do that. Alright, so you can see in this case it's got 2 microphone inputs, as well as 2 monoline inputs. Most mixers have that now. And you've again got another, looks like on this one you've only got 1 left and right input as far as that goes. But if you don't want to do a microphone, again, in this instance you can actually do, you know, your left in one, your right in the other on the first 2 channels. But if you're going to get one of these, I would obviously recommend getting the 6. But this one does have some effects in it as well. But that the Alesis, again, the Multi-Mix 6 is the one I used, and I can guarantee that it'll be clean unless there's, you know, you happen to get a defective one. So anyway, so that's just those are just a couple of examples there. I will tell you, I've got another USB mixer. It's actually a DJ mixer, and it was a Radio Shack, and I got it because it's had a sampler in it. And let me tell you, this is more of a kid's toy. Don't be fooled by it. I do use it sometimes, especially as backup, but oh my goodness, does it have some background noise in it. And it's just not, I would not recommend it for streaming. And Yamaha is a very good one, but you're going to pay the price for it. But these are super clean, very versatile. Just so I can show you their inputs. Usually on these Yamaha, let me show you the 6 input. Usually on these Yamaha mixers, the USB mixers, they have combo jacks in them, which are very nifty. I really like them. As you can see, you've got a combo jack, so you can put in XLR for microphone or TRS or TS. And of course it's switchable as to whether or not it's a microphone or line level input. And then you've also got, here, So you got, mic 1, mic 2. You also have left and right in, left and right in. So you've got 2 microphones, and you have 2 stereo inputs right there. And also this one, which I really love, is it has XLR outputs for your mains. And again, I will show you if you don't use. And another good thing about having this on hand is actually, depending on some venues you go to, it's good to have one of these. I know Nullstruck carries one of these. It actually came in handy back in 2014, I believe it was, when we first met at FaneCon. He happened to have one, and we used it. Came in real handy. Or no, 2015, when we were downtown. That's right. But anyways, it's good to have for your live gigs too, because it gives you the opportunity to make sure you have the correct inputs for your cabling, and then basically the house will provide whatever inputs. So usually, especially if you're in a live venue that might be using a snake of some kind, more than likely it'll be a XLR out. But as you can see, and most mixers that have XLR outputs like this one does, they also have a left and right main out TRS as well. So you have that variability depending on, if you go to a live venue or whatever you might use it for, you have that compatibility for whatever they might have, and then you always have the correct inputs for whatever you're going to be using. And you can also make your own mix, make sure your mix is right with your microphone and your music. You can have your backup right there. You don't have to, tell the AV guy, okay, I need another channel for backup just in case, and make sure it's always on, or whatever. You have full control of it right there on the stage. So you can, if anything goes bad, if your program locks up and it's fixing to cut out, you can go ahead and turn on your phone and do it. So you got it right there. So again, mixer's not necessary for streaming to Second Life, but it is recommended to have one on hand for both streaming online and for your live performances. Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I just always recommend it, and it gives you that versatility as well, of course. Another way you can do it with these mixers, if you don't have auxiliary sends like I do, you're not really going to get that independent control like I have unless you have auxiliary sends. But you can use your headphone jack and just use use your phones, and then you can have independent volume control here over your overall mix. So technically that would work too, I guess. So you can have your mains going to your computer speakers or whatever you're using, and then you use your headphones for your output to your computer, and basically just use a auxiliary cable with 1/8 inch on the other side, and then put actually I have one right here somewhere. Yeah, and just you can just use a adapter, 1/4 inch adapter, headphone adapter into the headphone jack, and then go into your recording right there. So that's the way I do it. The simpler way that you can do it is, and I will do this sometimes as well, well, that's what I'm fixing to show you. So, really the biggest thing is try and get one of these USB sound cards. Like I said, it's only $12, and it's just well worth it. And if you can't afford all this, just get one of these, and then you can get a, in my case, I will use a RCA to headphone jack instead of 1/4 inch. So you just get RCA, and you can go to Walmart and get these, Best Buy, anybody carries these things. RCA to auxiliary jack, if you will, or headphone jack, however you want to call it, 1/8 inch, 3.5mm TRS, whatever you call it. And then just go straight into that, from there to your recording device. But the main thing is, and here's the other thing you can do too, actually, and I'll show you some of the software side of it. So I'll go ahead and show you this. If you're going to use a mixer like that, or a USB sound card like that, I always prefer using an open mic program, stream program, and this is by far my favorite so far. I used to use one that was really outdated, worked pretty well, but sometimes would get buggy. I've never had a problem with this program. It's called Edcast. Edcast is often used with Winamp, which is what a lot of Second Life DJs use, but that's just playing playlists. Yeah, exactly, Blue. So anyways, but this is what's called Edcast Standalone. And basically all you do, you always have to run this administrator for it to reopen your live stream information. Basically you just open it up and you come over here and see if I can get it to focus. You select your your input device. So you've got your your laptop speakers, your stereo mix, or your USB sound card, whatever. You can actually have an input from your SB2, but I don't like using that driver because it doesn't work well with Serato at the same time, I found. So I just never use it. And also another thing, so if you're going to do it that way, keep your microphone level all the way down. And here's another thing to note. Let me show you this. And that slider actually correlates with your volume level under your recording device properties, like this right here. So okay, so we got that guy. So you come into your levels. So your bar on Edcast right here, your scroll bar for your volume, actually correlates with this. They both said each other. It's the same thing. But one thing to really note, and this goes for all Windows or probably Mac too if you use Mac, make sure you turn off auto gain control, or AGC. That will mess you up so much. I have had so many problems with that, and finally I've traced back to this little thing. If it's ticked, it will tick you off. So untick so you're not ticked. I would say that's an easy way to remember it, but it's actually probably making it more difficult. But as you can see, so everything that I've got going through that one USB input is everything I've got going through my auxiliary sends on my mixer. So right now I've got a microphone set up on a boom stand, as you can see, and that's what it's picking up. I can play music. Let me turn my master off. That must have been the end of the... Yeah, okay, that was the end of the song. So, I've got music playing right now. Let me see. Okay, so it's not reached the dropping, so let's do this. Let me go. So, the best way I do, as far as making sure that you're not going to distort on the other end, is I will go and usually I'll just do dubstep because it's got that low end that will more than likely blow up your gain. So let's see, yeah, sure, we'll do this. So I've actually got a little bit of room to play. My controller's all the way up. So what I would do is just turn those up just a hair on my sends on that channel. And I don't like it caps out at 0, and that's kind of its own protection, but I don't really fully trust it, I guess you could say, because it starts going into the red, and usually when you're in AV, red is a bad thing. So I usually will keep it around what would be considered -6 dB as my highest point, and then that way, especially when I'm doing my vocals, you can kind of see me tapping on it there with it. It won't cap out, and then that also gives me a little bit more extra room to go with my vocals. But that way it's loud and clear on everybody else's end, and then and I'm not distorting. And also talk to your audience too, or anybody, anybody, club owner or anything. Say, look, all right, I'm playing the music. Is it distorting? Does it sound clean to you? Do you hear my voice clearly over the music? I want to get this settled now so I know how to set it. Now, what I'll show you is, let me open, so Serato, alright, here, I'll go ahead and demonstrate this. Let me show you what I mean by my Serato is unstable. It absolutely hates me. I have to be careful about doing anything after I've already pressed play, because then even if I stop everything, it still likes to crash. We're actually about to discover something together, because I don't remember if Serato has a stream function. I don't think it does, but if it did, it would be under record. Let me see, mix, video mix. Yeah, so it's just a recording session to record your mix into a AIF file. But if you use Virtual DJ, so if you use Serato, really the best way I can point, the best direction I can point you to is get that USB sound card at the very least. Again, $12, Amazon. If you can afford to get 2 of them, it's always good to have a backup, in my opinion. But if you're a Virtual DJ user, you can actually go to, I gotta remember, oh yeah, go to record, you go to your record tab up here, and then you can come down here to broadcast. You click on broadcast, configure, and also when you're streaming to Second Life, very few people will use OCG, or what's otherwise known as well, OCG is the encoder, but OCG is used by IceCast and IceCast 2. Very few people use that. It's just always easier. Most people use Shoutcast stream boards, and you can use MPEG for IceCast 2 as well, but I always use Shoutcast. I find it to be less buggy and easier to work with, as well as a lot more versatile to work with depending on your internet connection. And I'll show you what I mean by that too. Your bit rate right here, if you're going to stream anywhere, make sure that you can at least stream a 128 bare minimum. Anything under that sounds like you're listening to AM radio or cassette tape or whatever have you. It sounds very muffled, very, or maybe over the phone even, in my opinion. I will usually do, at the very minimum, 128. 192 is even better. It's kind of the halfway mark. But if you can, if your internet connection will allow it, always do 320. 320 is highest quality that you can put out there. And then you just put in your server URL, and then your port number, and your server password, and that's really the only information you need to have for any stream. And I'll show you what I do with mine, but so that way you can actually have direct whatever you're mixing on Virtual DJ. Basically, your stereo output on Virtual DJ will go directly to that mix, and so that way is a good way you can actually just use headphones if you want to. All right, let me get out of that. So let's see. Oh yeah, I was going to show you this too while I'm thinking about it. So let's see, I can't remember what it's called. I was going to show you those computer speakers that I used to use. Cyber acoustic, that's what it was. And if I remember right, I think it was C306 or 603. These guys right here. 3602. That was damn close. All the numbers were there. But yeah, these guys right here are incredible speakers. It's got a little subwoofer. You got independent bass control. This little doohickey right here is your volume control. It's great for DJing. I used to actually use these speakers not only when I streamed in Second Life as my quote-unquote house speakers. Actually, when I would get asked to do like little to DJ and play music at little house parties, you know, or a New Year's Eve party or something, I would just set these guys up, and you know, and even then I'd still have to turn them down sometimes because they were complaining it was too loud. But these are great. You have independent control of your subwoofer. They're very clear. The speakers are very clear, so you have plenty of loudness. They've actually got a headphone output on it, so if you still want to use headphones and don't want to actually hear the volume, then you can use a headphone output jack. They also have an auxiliary input, so not really helpful for your DJing in Second Life or online streaming, but just versatility in general. And they're $40. I will go ahead and tell you now, if you have a bargain hunt thing anywhere around you, bargain hunt, a lot of times we'll get overstock or returns from Amazon, and oftentimes you can actually get these things. I just bought a set a few months ago for a friend of mine, and he absolutely loves them. He uses them on his TV. And but yeah, $40. I think they've gone up like $4 in the past, wow, 5 years. Where's the time gone? But yeah, so and if you want, I can actually send you these links to after we're done. That's CA-3602 is the model number, but I'll post those links up or send them to you if you want after I'm done streaming. So yeah, that's what I would use as far as if you don't have decent computer speakers. That's something worth investing in. Okay, so now for the actual streaming part. Sorry, I cannot talk. I'm doing a live stream. Somebody's messaging me on Second Life. So let's see. Alright, so Edcast, as I showed you, Edcast Standalone, I can get you a link to it. Or if anything else, especially if Skype or something, I think I have the original installation file for this program. I do know it's getting a little harder to find online because of its age, and they've kind of quit making it. So, so if you want this program, I can certainly send it to you. And this again is an open mic Edcast. So let's see. Something to know on Second Life. If you go to a club, some clubs have their own house stream server that they use, their own shoutcast server. And what you would do is, again, you know, like I showed you in Virtual DJ, you would input it in here, and there's the bit rate. Again, I stream 320 in 44.1K, or in this case, 44100 is the sample rate. That's your pretty standard sample rate. And pretty much any studio recording, you know, any music that you download is going to be done at that sample rate. I can give you technical aspects as to what that number means later if you want, but not really relevant. I don't know how to get, the problem is I have to get it Telegram on my computer, and I'm not trying to do that because every time I go to Telegram, the website, it just says, here, download it for Android or iOS, you know. So if you can show me how to do that, I will gladly do so. That's why it drives me nuts when you people keep sending me your logos on Telegram. I'm like, ugh, I need them on my computer. So anyway, so let's see. MP3 lame. I think I had to download a DLL file for this encoder. I can't remember. I know I did for Audacity, but I may not have for this one. But anyways, I always do MP3. That's what works with Shoutcast too. And then, you know, choose your server. You got Icecast or Shoutcast. I always do Shoutcast. And again, that depends on the server. If they happen to be using an Icecast server, first of all, good luck. But that's what you would choose as Icecast. Most places, like I said, most everybody use Shoutcast servers. So anyways, there's server information going here. Sometimes it's an IP address. Sometimes it's a URL. And then when they give you that information... Thanks, Blue. When they give you that information, here, I'll show you this. By the way, that's me, and that's my club. I hope nobody's epileptic. So let me show you this. So, okay, just for an example, so that bottom number right there is that same Shoutcast server that I just showed you in Edcast. As you can see, when somebody gives you their server information to put in, if a club has their own server, more than likely that's what they're going to give you. They're going to give you the IP address followed by what's called a port number in that format. The port number being after the colon. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to take that information. The first URL or IP address is going to go in your server IP. And again, it's not always an IP address. It sometimes is a URL. But always remember that the number after the colon is your port number. So that's your server port number right there. And then if they have a stream password, which basically allows you to stream on it and connect to the server, and that would go there. So that's how you do that. But if a lot of clubs now are going to, you have to have your own Shoutcast server. I also require this, and here's the reason why. All too often, if you have a server stream up, if the club has its own Shoutcast server, a DJ might start streaming on it, but then, let's say he crashes, or his computer crashes, or has an emergency, or just otherwise forgets to disconnect. If he's the last DJ of the night and forgets to disconnect from the server, on his stream program, then the next person the next day, or the next person right after him, can't connect to it because he's still connected to it. And really the only way to do that is for the owner of the server to go in and manually shut down the server, reboot it, and bring it back up again. And if the owner of the server is not available, then you're just SOL. So that's why most clubs nowadays, including mine, I require that you have your own Shoutcast server. There is a place that I've gone to, again, for the last 5 years to get my servers from, and that is called Listen, if I can spell right, Listen to My Radio. If I can show it, and again I'll supply this link, but like that, listen2myradio.com, and then you can create your server. And I actually used to have two. I would have one for my radio station, which was on another email, because you use your email obviously to log in and create it, but I would have one for my DJ server for Second Life, and then I'd have one for my radio station. But this is what the console looks like once you've created it, and you can also choose, it'll tell you what the best server is to choose, like this right here. In this case, you have UK servers or US servers. Pretty much the server that's closest to you, and I think all our cases US would apply to us. That's the one you want to choose. And then, over here it'll give your IP address and port number, and that's what you want to put in your stream program. Or as well as, and one thing I like about them too is, if you don't want to do just SL, if you want to just stream and then share it with Facebook, or wherever, they actually give this stream URL, and various ones, and so you can just copy it, paste it to wherever, and then I'll show you what that looks like, just so you know. And you can actually choose which encoders you want on there. I have two to compensate for any of my audiences. Okay, I had to. I don't know why one of them's not showing up, but I would have a MP4 encoder and an MP3 encoder. So that way, if you're on a Mac, and using Safari or whatever, you have that media player available to you. But that's all it is. It just takes you to a place so your viewers can listen to it, or listeners can listen to it. But otherwise, in Second Life, that's the number you're going to want to use as your IP address and server port number. And make sure, it will turn off if you stop streaming to it. It will turn off. Make sure it's turned on. in order to stream. Now, one thing I have to state about this, however, is an issue I very recently run into, and that is, okay, so you see it's turned on. I'll go ahead and show you this. So basically, all right, so once you got the information in Edcast, you have the server turned on, just say connect, and you're connected and you're streaming, and then it should tell you after connected, yeah. So I have it set to port at 320, and see it'll vary depending on my connection type. If my connection's too slow, it'll show you what it's able to stream at. But anyways, one issue I've had with listening to my radio very recently is I got an email while I was streaming on on Second Life. I was DJing on Second Life at Skybar, and I got an email midstream saying, "Hey, we noticed that you're not using the links that we gave you for people to listen to. You're listening to it through another program or another entity, and I need to plug my phone in because it's about to die." And so it got mad at me for doing that. So apparently that's a thing, and I guess I kind of understand why they want that. Because, you know, they have normally, I cheat, and I have ad block, so normally I think they have ads on these things, which I don't, but I think that's one way that, you know, it's free to you, and they want to make sure that you're doing that, I guess. So, you know, it's very good to try and go ahead and turn on the stream yourself on another computer or something, and, you know, you can just mute it. So that way you at least have somebody listening to it, or ask somebody else to listen to it on Second Life. And in my case, oftentimes I will have my friend Crazon with me, or you know, anybody, and just say, "Hey, do you mind just listening to the stream off of Second Life through this link so it doesn't get mad at me?" And normally they're okay with it. And also, one thing I like about that too is, like, for instance, a while back, Waya was streaming online and doing a DJ stream. He used the same server that I do, and so he sent me that link, and I was out, and I wanted to listen to it because he hasn't done it in a while. He hadn't DJ'd in a while, so I wanted to listen to him. I didn't have internet here at the time, and my data limit on, you know, I have a very small data limit on my phone. So I went to McDonald's to use their Wi-Fi and was able to pull it up on my phone just by going to the same link that he sent me on Facebook. So that's the other grand part of it. Also, it's good to know, I guess, if you want to cheat, you know, and you have a auto mix enabled, like you're using Winamp or something, where you're just playing an auto, you know, an auto playlist, and and you're like, okay, I'm starving, I have to go get something to eat, you know, you can leave the house, leave it playing on auto, and then just listen to your stream, make sure it's still running, which I don't know what you would do if it ever went down, but since you're not at home. But that's basically it. And then, and I'll show you in Second Life, there's different ways of starting your stream on Second Life at my club. Let's see here. Let me do this real quick. These lights are going to drive me nuts while I'm trying to cam around. Let's see. The HUD. Alright, turn it off. And turn it up. There we go. Okay. So anyways, up here, I'm trying to do this one-handed. Also, my graphics card, my integrated graphics card, my laptop sucks, so a lot of times streams will blur out and then come back. But this is one version of a Shoutcast stream board. There's very variable ways of using these things. They come in all shapes and fashions and forms. Basically, a lot of times you'll click on it and either go to streams, depending on how the club owner has it set up. In my case, you would go to streams and you would find your name there. And, you know, this is Takashi's, this is mine. And that's how you would just turn it on. Another way would be you just click on it and log in as DJ. and there's already cards set up to where as soon as you log in as DJ, it'll automatically set all your stream information automatically. Another way is like Skybar would have me do this. I didn't really agree with it, but they would give you once you're in that club's group, they would give you the rights to change the sound information on the land or on the partial. In this case, Firestorm, you go to land, or go to your land properties, click on sound, and then this is what I showed you earlier. And then you just go and you either enter your stream URL and port number like this, and this is mine, or if you already got it, just click on it and it'll automatically change it. So I think that's it, pretty much. So yeah, any other questions? I really hope that any of you guys would like to start DJing in Second Life or get back into it. I would love for you guys to DJ at the club. I can't really show it very well over the phone and also carrying around one-handed because I'm holding a phone. But as you can tell, it's pretty big, and it's meant to be a realistic venue, you know. It's not everything is toony and oversized. It's got a realistic feel to it. Oh, no, you do not. The only thing I would absolutely suggest, if you're using your computer speakers or stereo mix or whatever, like through Virtual DJ, make sure you mute Second Life, because then otherwise all your notifications and all your sounds and gestures that people are playing in Second Life are going to go through your stream. But no, other than that, all your levels are done in your stream program, your board, your controller, and everywhere in between. And then and then everybody else can control their sound, on their side through their viewer, as far as music input or volume. Are you guys already on Second Life, or is this just something you're considering? Yes, Edcast. And again, I will send, if I can find the download link for this thing, I'll send that link. Otherwise, just message me and we'll figure out a way for me to get it to you. More than likely, I can actually email it to you if worst comes to worst. I don't think it's a very large file. I will go ahead and tell you, aside from DJing in Second Life, I really enjoy Second Life because it's a means for me to express myself. I'm never human in Second Life simply because I'm human in real life, and I only enjoy it so much as it is. So in Second Life I am able to be me, or who I feel like being, and so that's the puppy me, and of course the puppy me is more predominant nowadays than the adult me, but I also have my adult course form on there. And of course there's always fun things to do, there's people to meet. I've met all kinds of people on here. I've made many opportunities in Second Life. Actually, as soon as we can get this club up and going, it's actually technically open now, but of course, we don't really have any DJs other than myself, and don't really have any traffic coming in just yet. And I've been finishing up some little fine touches, and oh yeah, this might look familiar to some of you. I had to put those in there. I was like, I have to decorate these walls somehow, and that was the first thing I thought of, so it was too fitting. Yeah, time restraints can be a big thing. Most clubs require that you DJ at least 2 sets a week. I request that you DJ at least 2 sets a week, simply because we need DJs to fill in time. But even when I was DJing at Skybar, due to my limitations in real life, I would only do once a week, and then or I'd do one scheduled session a week, and then if I had extra time or if they needed to back up DJ and have some time, I would jump in, which of course is also the case here at Lights Out. And something else to consider too, if you're considering DJing a Second Life, especially at Lights Out, one of the other cool things that I really wanted to present that no other venue does that I know of in Second Life, I have a position open. I have positions open for AV staff. What that means is, most clubs, they have lighting or lasers or whatever have you that are just kind of, you turn them on, and they just go automatically. They do their own thing. My lighting system is completely, I completely designed it. It's completely controllable, and I'll give you an example of that. But basically, I need AV staff too that can help make the shows even better for the DJs and the audience. And I've got a laser control here and a lighting control here. I'll show you the laser even. Let's see. And you've seen pictures of this, of course, too, at times. You can kind of see it. Let me see. So yeah, you can kind of see the beams there. And then, of course, I got moving heads. But yeah, it's all controllable. I have different scenes set up, and I've got my own HUD over here. And there's different things you can do with it. You can make them strobe. I mean, it's just like real life. It's your canvas. The lights are your canvas. The club is your canvas, and what you do with them is your artwork. It's your masterpiece. So that's one thing that's also an opportunity if you decide to join Second Life, and even if you don't want to DJ, if there's anybody in here who's not a DJ and wants an opportunity to be part of it, that's something else you can do. And of course, you also have a host, which I consider to be, here I consider as an MC, because again, it's a live venue, and the whole point of a host is to help promote and support the DJ or the performer at the time, send out the notifications to the group saying, hey, so-and-so's DJing here, come on, come join us, they're playing this kind of music, whatever have you. But also, but the reason I consider them MCs is they have the job of a host, but also is to help hype the people, keep them keep interacting with the crowd, keep them hyped up for the DJ, keep everybody interested and pumped up and moving, just like you would real life. And of course, security positions. No, that's actually rather impossible to do, at least right now. There's just so many variables in between between the stream in Second Life, the stream on the land, and running the lighting on it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not impossible in the future, but no, it does not sync up to it. That's again why you have this console right here is actually what's over here. You have all these different options. You can change the colors, so you can see, change the colors, blue, white, multicolor, and you can also change the beams, believe it or not. You can change the size and the pattern of the beam, and there's just a lot you can do with it, just like real life lighting, and you don't have to have them moving all the time. You can set them to static, and they just freaked out. You can set them to static and do different positions, make them strobe, if I can hit the button. Oh, okay, well I need to fix that. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, you can make them do different movements, all kinds of stuff. But basically, you just listen to the stream. Generally speaking, if you're listening to the stream, yes, there's different latency factors depending on your internet connection compared to everybody else's internet connection who's listening to the stream, but generally it's going to be about the same. So regardless, even if your lighting changes are not in time or not right in time with the music stream, it's still eye candy, and people just love it. Exactly. You know, if it's and again, and like a lot of times, you know, I'll stop the movement and put it into a certain position, and then make it strobe white. You know, for the build up, and then cut them out. You know, just like you would real life lighting. Uh, I would say it's less complex than real life lighting. Really, I would say it's almost more complex in certain cases. But okay, why are these colors not matching up? It's probably user error. But yeah, so there's many opportunities here at Lights Out. Oh yeah, we also have a video effects screen which keeps blurring out because my laptop sucks. Which you can also control. You can change the background color of it. You can make the intensity of it. You can change the pattern. And these are all animations, by the way, that loop themselves. And there's so many different ones, so you can do that too. And that's why oftentimes, so you can have one AV guy running everything, or even two, and also have tip jars out for whoever might be running AV for all the lighting and video. Because you are working, you are making the art, you are, you know, aside from the DJ who's making the art of music, you're making the art to go with the music of lighting and everything. So I gave the opportunity for people to tip you as well if they're really enjoying the light show and everything that you're putting on for them. Why? I'm gonna have to fix those lights again. Doggone it. So yeah, I think that's covers pretty much everything that I can think of. Is there any more questions that can be about streaming, my equipment, the club, whatever, Second Life in general? And Blue, I guess you're the only one that's left. Interesting. Ah, you're not. You mean as far as like all the cabling, my cable routing and everything? Oh, and also, you know, if you guys want to get started DJing here, another thing that I wanted to promote about Lights Out is the fact that, you know, I really would love to have experienced DJs like us, of course, and of course it is focused towards EDM. But, you know, there's also, of course, the DJs that are just starting or wanting to start and, you know, a little rough around the edges, whatever have you. This club, as realistic as it is and professional as I try to make it, I still always welcome newcoming DJs, especially those who have never DJed in Second Life before, like Takashi. He's releasing his album at MFM, and again at right after MFM, he's doing it here at Lights Out, and then bringing it to FanCon. And he's never really DJed on Second Life, and that's one thing I want to do with anybody who's interested, either on Second Life or off Second Life. I will help you get your Shoutcast servers set up. I will help you every step that I can, you know, to get you started in DJing at the club. Okay. Okay, I see what you're saying. I will try to work on that. The problem is, it's one of those things. I've been doing this so long. The flow just comes naturally to me. And I know there's a lot of cables and routing and software and this, that, and the other, and I'm really if I try to diagram it out, it's probably just going to confuse the hell out of me. Like, wait a second, I'm missing something, or oh wait, I made this go the wrong place. You know, it's because drawing it out two-dimensionally is doesn't make as much sense to me as just taking the cables, plugging it where I know it needs to go. But I will definitely try and get that out to y'all. And I know me explaining it is probably really making it sound more complicated than it really is. But yeah, I'll try and get a diagram of all this. But again, if you can't afford something like this and you just want to get started, just get the USB. I will provide the link again for that on Amazon, $12, and then get one of those RCA cables. If your controller has RCA outputs on it, then just get RCA to 1/8 inch, or whatever your controller uses. If it's 1/4 inch, get 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch. If it's XLR, get XLR to 1/8 inch. You know, whatever. And then just go into that, and then you're ready to get started. And well, with that, let me think about that for a second. It is a bit more difficult to listen to your music over house speakers if you're just using from your controller to your USB sound card. Not impossible. Some controllers will actually they actually have multiple outputs, and so you can do it that way. They'll have a main output and like a control room output or recording output or whatever have you. Those are always great and handy because basically you're taking this and putting it into here. But if you don't, one way you can do it is to get an 1/8 inch Y splitter. You know, it's basically like you use for connecting two headphones to one iPod or whatever have you. But they will work the other way around. So if you want to basically get a Y splitter, get your RCA cable or whatever to 1/8 inch, and then put a Y splitter in there, put that as one of your inputs, and then put your speakers auxiliary jack as on the other end of it, on the other female end of it, and then that should work. Sometimes, depending on the quality of the Y splitter, you might run into problems of it overheating from trying to split the outputs, but usually that only happens if you're actually trying to split, like I said, headphones. One thing I've noticed is with those Y splitters, those headphone splitters, they tend to get hot, or your headphones will get hot because they're trying to take more power from the headphone jack of whatever you're using, your computer, your sound card, whatever. But if it's a line level thing like this, it really shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, like I said, if you ever have any questions, I will be doing a full panel on this, pretty much showing and explaining everything I've already showed and explained here, but I figured I'd go ahead and do a panel at FanCon, and if it doesn't take up the full hour, then we'll just have a little DJ dance party, I guess. But basically, so that way you can see more in person what's going on with it, and again, show you, and actually physically show you how you can do different things. And then, of course, show off the club a little bit.